Hi, welcome to the Commercial Real Estate Talk podcast. I'm your host, George Morales of Blue Box Real Estate. We're a boutique commercial real estate firm in South Florida, specializing in tenant advisory, landlord advisory services, and investment sales. Find us at blueboxre.com. This is episode 138 of the podcast. We've entitled this the State of the CRE Union. State of the CRE Union. We're kind of borrowing a little bit from what happened this week in our country. But a couple of the stories that we're going to consider, and a lot of this can be courtesy of CoStar. And so we're going to talk about what comes next for offices. We've got some inside track for some experts. We're going to discuss developers start construction on a $1.5 billion mall conversion in South Miami or Cutler Ridge. I've got some color to add to that relates to myself. Miami Tower scores 5 new tenants, including a New York relocation. I mean, it's like, where did they go? And now they're back, so it makes big news. We're going to discuss Canadian real estate industry braces for fallout from the U.S. trade war. And we'll dive a little bit deeper into that, and some of that parlays into the U.S. is announcing job cuts, 245% surge, and also the GSA layoffs. So where are they located? Here they are. And we can just keep exploring this. Here are the federal agencies and so forth. There was also an article of a kind of a give and take regarding the U.S. announced these are the federal buildings that we're going to put on the market for sale, and then they kind of redacted that. So we're not going to bring that to you, but stay tuned. It's going to be all over the place in 2025, what's happening with the federal government, DOGE, and the paring down of our government, which frankly is long overdue. This thing is huge, and we need to pare it down to essentials. So with that being said, episode 130, let's get right into before we begin, please visit and like and subscribe to the Commercial Real Estate Talk podcast. Go to @CRE Help on YouTube. Maybe I'm preaching to the choir here because you're listening, but maybe share it with others, and maybe they're business owners or colleagues that can learn about commercial real estate. We have a great growing bucket of commercial real estate shorts. 1 minute, learn different commercial real estate terms. So here's the first article we're going to consider today. What comes next for offices? According to CoStar, we asked the experts, and so there they are. Well, there's a wonderful cast of experts. So let's dig in. It's been 5 years since COVID-19. By the way, congratulations. We're now in March, and it's almost 5 years to the day for the biggest overreach of government violations of our civil liberties that we have experienced, certainly in our lifetime. Certainly not the biggest overreach in American history, unfortunately, but in our lifetime, perhaps it was. So hopefully we've learned our lessons. But there's a new phase in office. And remember, why is this article jumping into this? Because there was a while there where we wondered, will anybody ever return to the office? And then there was a while there where will corporate America shrink to 50% because everyone's working from home? And so now it's 5 years. We have data. The dust has settled. What do we have going forward? Here's our wide range of discussion. David Bittner of Newmark, Danny Mangru, Avison Young. We got Savills, JLL, Cushman & Wakefield, Colliers, and CBRE. The only one missing here is Blue Box and Cressa. It seems like everybody else. And Blanca here in the Miami office. All right, CoStar. We saw office demand stabilize in 2024 with net absorption, difference between move-ins and move-outs, okay? Turning positive at the end of the year, and we finally see the beginning of the recovery. So how does absorption work? You take a look at the occupancy. You look at how much space was occupied at one given time, compare it to another given time, and contrast. What you want is more occupancy, right? Not less. If there's more, then you have positive absorption, meaning you dug into that vacancy. If you have less, you have negative absorption, and that's no bueno. All right, David Bittner from Newmark, he gets the first stab at answering, are we finally rounding the corner here? And he says, in a word, yes. While it's just 1 quarter of positive net absorption, it's been improving for some time, giving us confidence that this is a trend rather than an aberration. The bigger questions, I love how he's redirecting the conversation, is what kind of pace will this recovery be able to sustain? We remain cautious for 2 reasons. First, office using employment growth has been moderate to weak. Second, Many pre-pandemic leases are coming up for renewal in the next few years, which could lead to some degree of downsizing. All right, so I'm kind of with David on this right off the bat, because there's been a lot of firms who haven't been able to exercise their plan since COVID. If you signed a 5-year lease in 2019, it's just started to expire last year. If you signed a 7-year or 10-year lease or a 5-year lease in the middle of COVID, you still have years left of term and you haven't been able to pivot and modify your plan. So we're starting to see that more and more every year, the impact of COVID. And that's what he's kind of cautiously awaiting to see what's going to be the outcome of that. Okay, Danny Manguru, and forgive me, I'm going to not keep scrolling up here, but it's he's with Avison Young. We're just in the early innings with some markets like Manhattan further ahead while others are still getting out of spring training. Okay, so Danny must be a big baseball fan, because in the first sentence he uses 2 baseball metaphors. And if you don't know about baseball, early innings, baseball has 9 innings. Top half of the inning and the bottom half of the inning, the offense, the defense. And so we're still in the early innings, means it's the game is still very early. And then he says further, like Manhattan, they're still in spring training, meaning the season hasn't even begun yet. So we're just at the tip of the spear. And so he's taking a very cautious approach too. He says we saw positive numbers last year for the office market. Leasing activity increased in several office markets, including San Francisco, Manhattan, and Dallas, which increased over 223. We continue to monitor the momentum. Okay, how about Jacob Rowden, another national firm? We're beginning to see early stages of recovery as far back as to mid-late 2023. But with each passing quarter, it seems a new milestone is passed. Tenant requirements have been trending upwards. Sublease availability has fallen since mid-23. And then in 2024, we saw 3 consecutive quarters of post-pandemic leasing highs. These were all clear signs that the recovery is unfolding and that there are more milestones to pass. Sales activity is improving slowly amid volatile interest rate forecast. All right. David Smith, the end of the year showed signs of life. Fed began raising interest rates, positive in nearly half the U.S. markets tracked by Cushman and Wakefield Research. One extremely strong indicator of better days ahead is the sublease market has shrunk 3.8% from the early 2024 peak. Shrinking sublease market is historically a leading indicator of peak overall vacancy and a tightening of the sublease market historically. All right, so that's good. Good stuff. Sublease coming down. Excellent. Let's keep going. Office market, according to Julie Whelan, office market is now out of triage, allowing us to focus on its long-term health. So again, Julie took a different approach. She has 2 metaphors related to the medical field. We're out of triage, focusing on long-term health. So I like this this trend. The market has stabilized. Vacancies ticking downward, albeit slowly. You know, one of the CoStar, the office pipeline is drying up quickly. Deliveries will soon be historically low. How will this impact the market? So one of the things, for instance, that we are experiencing here in South Florida is there's not a lot of new supply. It's coming. If you keep up with my LinkedIn channel, Blue Box Real Estate or Jorge Morales at LinkedIn channel, please look us up and subscribe or connect, follow, however, whatever the right term is. I posted a video. I was just in downtown Miami for a lunch, and the old Tiber Hollow building right there on Biscayne Boulevard is for many years it was like a graffiti showcase, and now it's being demoed as we speak. And you know, they're not imploding these buildings anymore. They're like taking it like piece by piece and recycling, and it's taken forever, but you know, that's what it is. That's what's happening in Miami. We're starting to see the groundwork for the next phase. Banco Santander, Citadel, they're all beginning to work on their buildings. So we're going to get new supply probably in a 3-year forecast. But until then, occupancy keeps increasing slowly, rates keep going up, and there's no new supply. There's no new supply. Really, I mean, Coral Gables got the plaza, but there's no new supply coming really that of worth. There's one small project in Coral Gables, nothing new on Brickell around the corner, nothing new. Waterford or Doral around the corner. In fact, in the Doral office market, we've got buildings that are going to be torn down for residential or for industrial, believe it or not. So Not a lot of supply in the Miami market right now. So tenants, yes, it's still a time of uncertainty. There's cautious optimism, but because you don't have supply coming, it's really time to talk to a good commercial real estate advisor and secure a long-term plan, because we have, in my opinion, a very short window to negotiate very good deals before it flips and landlords take the advantage again. So bear that in mind if you're a tenant. Okay, Rowden, it will have a substantial impact on high-end tenants, particularly large occupiers. Already the space available in the pipeline has declined almost 90% where it was in 2019. So a large block trophy tenant considering these underdevelopment buildings has a much smaller universe of options to consider. In this environment, there'll be more pressure on tenants to renew leases since relocations options are thin. And that's exactly what we're talking about. Not a lot of, if you have 100,000 feet, you're hauling a night and you have 150 or 200,000 feet in Brickell, where are you gonna go when your lease expires, if it expires in the next 2 years? Where are you gonna go? And don't you think the landlords know this? You're not gonna go anywhere because there's no other large blocks available for you. So that's exactly what Rowden is saying. So the fact that there's pipeline missing across the country, not a lot of development as a reaction to COVID, I think it's good. It's going to stabilize the market. I skipped David Nunez. He said the number of new construction options in many markets is dwindling, particularly as demand for high quality Class A and trophy properties remain elevated. In markets with limited new construction and other prime space options, relocation activity may decelerate, leading to more stay in place transactions. So listen, that's going to be it across the board. Let's see, another question. What is a common misconception that people outside the real estate industry have about office buildings? That they're empty or they're all going to give their keys to the bank, right? That would probably be my opinion. Or let's see what they say. I'm sorry, I'm going to butcher your name, sir or ma'am, because I don't have the full name here. Skorupski. One of the most common misconceptions is that every worker was an in-office employee. Prior to the pandemic, the reality is that remote work existed long before the pandemic. So-called return to office conversion should keep that in mind. I don't think that's that wouldn't have been one of my top of mind. Maybe that they're empty because people are all working from home, but not that everyone was working from home, or some were before the pandemic. I know I wasn't. All right, Smith, there's a sense that all office buildings are struggling. See, so that's exactly what I was pointing at. However, Cushman & Wakefield's research data, all right, Smith, every time you had a chance to plug Cushman & Wakefield, you've done a good job of doing that. So congratulations. I don't know if you're getting bonused out for every time you can mention Cushman & Wakefield per answer, but you definitely met the quota. Cushman & Wakefield research data shows that over a half of all U.S. office buildings have occupancy rates above 90%. Occupancy rates have been improving in more than 60% of office buildings. All right, Whelan. A common misconception is that all the office market is vacant. All right, so she's same thing, right where I wasn't. By the way, I'm reading this fresh with you. While we're experiencing historically high vacancy, it is concentrated in a small percentage of buildings, many of which likely don't have a viable feature as office buildings that need to be converted or demolished. Case in point, what we're seeing with Bayfront Plaza, I think it was called, One Bayfront Plaza, the hollow building. It was defunct for years, okay, and now it's coming down. There's going to be a few of those stories. There are Class C buildings in Class A locations that are not the highest and best use, and frankly, it's time for them to come down for something more beautiful to come up. All right, Mangru. Another common misconception is that remote work has simply doomed the office market, okay? As reflected in Avison. Okay, now here's another plug for his company. I gotta love people who love the companies they work for. The number of workers returning to the office continues to rise each year, according to Avison Young. Yeah, that's good. All right, Munoz. One common misconception is that office buildings with lights on and people coming and going must be performing well. In reality, many buildings have availability rates exceeding pre-pandemic levels. An increasing number of landlords are undercapitalized and facing financial distress. All right, here's another question. How have the last 5 years changed what occupiers want in their workplaces? Are these changes going to last? And how would I answer that? Well, you probably need more smaller space, smaller footprint, because you are having some folks working from home. Maybe you want more collaborative space. Maybe you don't want the sweatshop mentality, the benching, and everyone squished together. So a couple of things. Let's see. Whelan, we are in the experience era. The office is no longer a necessity. Rather, it's an option employees should want to choose. Okay. How about Bittner? It's difficult to implement a return to office if that office itself is unappealing. I like this. Occupiers are prioritizing more amenities that meet workers' needs, such as gyms, daycares, facilities, and restaurants. I can't agree more. Occupiers are willing to pay more for better space. We've seen a flight to quality. I have a video on flight to quality if you want to watch one of that shorts. High-end amenitized buildings, wellness features, outdoor access, and hospitality-like services. So here's what we're seeing. If you needed 10,000 feet and you have a certain percentage of your employees working from home and you were in a Class B building, now you can afford to downsize the office, take 5,000 square feet, but upsize to a Class A building that has more amenities, so that when you do ask those workers to come, they have a more pleasant work environment and all these amenities, and including restaurants and walkability and all that stuff. So we are seeing that too. Case in point, we've had a few, Carnival and a few of the cruise lines have been relocating to key markets so that their employees, and it's taken smaller footprint for their employees to be able to access more amenities. All right, what is the biggest current impediment in the office sector's recovery? I'd say uncertainty, interest rates, buildings that are highly leveraged and still have a capitalization problem. You still have this post-pandemic surge of work from home that's working through the system. So there's just a lot of uncertainty still, especially even now with tariffs and what's going to happen. And so let's see, what's the biggest impediment? The slow recovery in capital markets conditions, limiting factor for the office market, potential to undermine the progress if those conditions persist. High levels of distress in the market, disjointed valuations, reduce the leasable universe for tenants, since more owners will be unable to finance leasing costs and will be unable to execute leases at current market rates. Poor liquidity. Routing is hitting them all. Okay. Skorupski, one thing that might hold it back slightly is unrealistic expectation either by landlords or tenants. Biggest current impediment, Whelan says, I see the slowness of efforts to rebalance the market. The faster that defunct office spaces can be removed from the inventory, the better our markets will be. All right, so look, all good stuff. And I'm going to skip that last one because we're taking all our time with the first story. This is just, again, a reminder that all these stories are pushed through a host of different ways you can connect. Obviously, this podcast, subscribe. You can hear us on audio. And by the way, if you're listening to this on Podcast Addict or iTunes, there's a video version of it on at CRE Help on YouTube, where you can see these articles. Also, you can go to LinkedIn and follow us. All these articles are pushed through LinkedIn as well, through Blue Box Real Estate. So subscribe there. We have growing subscribers there. And then also, if you subscribe to blueboxre.com, every Monday you'll get a beautiful email summary of the latest real estate news that we have been discussing and pushing through. So we have several different ways that we can connect with you and keep you abreast of what's happening in commercial real estate. All right, the next article we talked was going to be this, and this will be quick, and this is just kind of close to home because I grew up in Cutler Ridge and I worked at this mall. Developers start construction on $1.5 billion mall conversion south of South Miami. I said $1.5 billion. The first phase includes apartments with Hispanic-owned ground floor grocery store. I mean, nothing spells. This is going to fill up like crazy than having a Hispanic-owned ground floor grocery store. I wonder if it's Ciudadanos or Presidente. Who is going to be? Let's find out. All right. So for those of you who don't know, this this mall was a staple in the Cutler Ridge community. It was kind of probably the main economic engine. Well, the main economic engine was Homestead Air Force Base. But this is where everybody ended shopping and did their business. After Hurricane Andrew, yeah, I'm going back to 1992. This mall has not been the same. I worked at a Chick-fil-A here from 88, maybe 88, 89, and 90 into 91 until I got into commercial real estate when I started college. So my brother and I got a chance to work together there. So this mall has pretty much been struggling and defunct. Well, developer came in, bought it all. Now they're going to transform it. Spend $1.5 billion. It's located down there in South Dixie Highway, 20505. It's going to be called South Place City Center, 100-acre mixed-use development featuring one of the, okay, we got our largest Hispanic. Why don't you tell us who it is? 500,000 square feet of retail. And let's see here. The project's first phase will build 350 apartment units. The ground floor will have a Presidente supermarket owned by Cuban-American Omar Rodriguez, who started in 1990, okay? They have 42 locations and so forth. So here's a beautiful picture of where we're going. And look, it looks like a wonderful place if you're, especially if you're a young couple, a young entrepreneur to work. I think retail and apartments go great. I see so many opportunities. The Broward Mall and Plantation, you know, there's been this defunct Sears. It's just sitting there for the last 15 years. Why not build some high-end apartments and some ground floor retail restaurants, create some life? I think the Falls area is another one. Why not get rid of the Macy's and on the east side and build some apartments or condos with some high-end restaurants? I mean, I think there's a good play between the retail as an amenity package to the condos. But this is one that's taking place in a mall that I spent a lot of my youth in. Comment if you also remember Cutler Ridge Mall. Did you ever go to Orange Blossom or Fun and Games Arcade? Did you ever visit me at Chick-fil-A? If you visited Chick-fil-A from 88 to 90, I probably served you a chicken sandwich. So comment below if you have good memories of Cutler Ridge Mall. All right, Miami Tower scores 5 new tenants, including New York relocation. Now, New York relocations have become a little rare. It was just the talk of the town for 2-3 years, from 21, 22, 23. Kind of took a dip. Now it's like, whoa, hey, we got someone to come from New York. 801 Brickell hits 88% occupancy. I mean, I don't know if I would be boasting about hitting 88% occupancy in a market that's sub maybe 8 or 9% overall. But all right, congratulations there, 801 Brickell. This Tishman-Speyer designed and developed office building. They no longer own it, obviously. All right, Varonis publicly traded company was formerly based in New York, relocating to Miami. All right, so this is a complete relocation. They're taking 44 of the new lease and 2 renewals. All right, so how big is the lease? Is 44,600. All right, so this includes renewals. Number of relocation expansions started to slow. 45 companies expanded, relocated to Miami between 23 and 24. Down from the 57 companies between 21 and 22. All right, let's get in the article, see if we can find out. Here, Varonis Systems took 17,900 square feet. Yes, folks, that's a large deal for Miami. I know that in New York, you look at 17,900 and you're like, yeah, I'll give it to the junior broker. But here, that's a big deal. Whoever represented this group probably had like 10 people on it. All right, Fengate Capital moved in. It looks like already moved in from Toronto, 8,664. Eastdil secured a New York-based brokerage, expanding their presence. Intellego Bank, Bahama-based bank, 2,500 square feet. That's more your size Miami deal. 2,000 square feet. MK Capital. Okay, so this 2,000 to 2,500. Listen, that's what tenant rep brokers we have to live off. That's the bread and butter of Miami. All right, so the building is owned by Monarch Alternative Capital. Okay, they pay $250 million a square foot for it. All right, let's keep going. Now we're not going to dig too deep into this, but I wanted to highlight this because we have these tariffs coming, and then of course the tariffs were coming, but now the president delayed them for a month for everything coming out of Mexico, maybe Canada too. So are they coming? Is it just a threat? I don't know. But tariffs, Canadian real estate industry braces for the fallout from trade war with the U.S. Tariffs could halt nascent recovery. Hit industrial sector hard, property firm says. Christopher Wayne is looking to boycott American products, but the chief operating officer of Canadian apartment developer Equiton says supporting business in his country matters more than ever now that the United States has officially started a trade war. Listen, a trade war is a war, so hopefully we can tone these uses of the word war down. Let's use whatever contest, alliance, whatever you want to use. Just I would stop using the word war. Okay, 25% tariffs on Canadian goods since March 4th. Retaliatory measures are in place. Burlington, Ontario-based multifamily company, so not Burlington factory, so you can still get your coats for pretty inexpensive, and shoes All right, let's keep going. Materials and supplies are going to be more expensive. Yes, we got that. Canadian lender responds with tariffs in U.S. Leader. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau quickly responded to the U.S. move to add 25% tariffs expected to apply to all goods from Canada and U.S. Now, Avison Young is a commercial real estate brokerage firm headquartered out of Canada. I don't know how that's going to impact them, if there is at all. Marcus and Millichip said tariffs have the potential to derail the commercial real estate recovery spurred by Bank of Canada's consecutive rate cuts. The central bank is set to meet again on March 12th, and another rate cut could be back on the table because of the trade war. Tariffs could dampen demand across manufacturing, warehousing, transportation. We talked to a group this week that we were pursuing for tenant rep. My colleague or partner, affiliated company. I mean, not officially, but we chase business together in New York. Tenant rep advisor, and we were talking to a group that is highly concerned over these tariffs. They're industrial. They're importing and exporting, and they're going to have to start raising their prices. Tariffs, look, at the end of the day, are going to raise their prices for us. The president said there's going to be some pain. Hopefully it works out long term. If it doesn't, it's going to have a lot of disgruntled voters and people who are going to want these tariffs out of here, because eventually it's going to cost the American taxpayer higher prices. All right, so not really much in there. Housing, it's going to be the largest impact. It's going to be to the manufacturing for now, as parts and so forth are going to be more expensive. All right, U.S. This is Reuters. Announced job cuts surged 245% in February on federal government layoffs. Let's dig into this. They weren't the only ones. Layoffs announced by U.S. employers jumped to levels not seen since the last two recessions amidst mass federal government job cuts. Canceled contracts and fears of trade wars offering a clear sign yet of the toll taken on the labor market by the policies of President Donald Trump's administration. Global outplacement from Challenger, Gray, and Christmas said Thursday that planned job cuts vaulted 245% to 172,017 last month, the highest level since July 2020, when the economy was in the grips of the COVID-19 pandemic. It was the highest February total since the Great Recession 16 years ago. So obviously, here you have it. What is the uncertainty in the office market? Job cuts. Obviously, less place to put people. You don't need so much office. So a lot of folks are paying attention to this. All right, 62,000 across 17 agencies in the first 2 months of the year. 41,311% increase compared to this time last year. When mass layoffs occur, it often leaves remaining staff feeling uneasy and uncertain. The likelihood that many more workers will leave voluntarily is high. This is coming from Reuters again, I think, even though it's here in Yahoo News. Tech billionaire Elon Musk, Department of Government Efficiency, DOGE, is wielding the axe on public spending, an exercise that has resulted in funding freezes, deep spending cuts, and the purging of thousands of federal government workers, including scientists and game rangers. All right, so I'm not sure there's much more to talk about. Obviously, DC is going to be the hardest hit, but the hiring and fund freezes could have an impact on government and contract employer. Non-farm payroll likely increased by 160,000 jobs, rising 143,000 in January. The unemployment rate is forecasted unchanged at 4%. So look, there's going to be a domino effect because of the impact to contract work. If you work with the government and now the government's no longer there, your contract's probably not that good. You're probably going to need to start dealing more with the IRS. Well, which, according to ABC News, are the federal agencies where workers are being fired the most? Department of Education, IRS, and many other agencies. So that's where the job cuts are hitting the hardest. Here we're up to 75,000. Department of Education has lost, let's see here, cabinet level, 4,400 employees, another 1,400 in the federal student aid. Department of Homeland Security, 400. What else? Department of Energy, 2,000. Well, that's kind of ironic, right? That's 2,000 less uses of electricity and that kind of stuff from the Department of Energy. 10,000 staffers at the United States Agencies for International Development, USAID, have been placed on leave. 600 workers remain in their roles. Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, 1,700 employees. All right, so this continues. Department of Agriculture are going to be losing some folks. EPA, Department of Health and Human Services, Department of the Interior, and Office of Personnel Management, GSA, Small Business Administration, IRS, began laying off more than 6,000 new and newly promoted employees. These layoffs impacting roughly 6 to 7% of the agency's 100,000 person workforce. Department of Defense will release some 5,400 civilian probationary workers. So there you have it. That's where most of the layoffs are coming. All right, do we have any more news? That's it. Thank you, CoStar. Thank you, Reuters. Thank you, ABC. For today's look at commercial real estate, that is a commercial real estate State of the Union. We are all paying attention to primarily the office sector, see what's going to happen in places like Miami. I think Miami's on the top of the recovery. Things have rounded the corner. Broward County, not so much. I recently did some deals up in the downtown Palm Beach market. Plenty of space to find, plenty of good space to find in downtown Palm Beach. Been in the PGA market looking at space. A little tighter there, but still some good options, especially if you're a financial institution or work those markets in the financial sectors. I've got a great, and I don't control the listing, but I know of a great space I would love to talk to you about. So that's it for me. Remember, Proverbs 20:18, plans are established by counsel, by wise counsel, wage war. Thank you for tuning in. Always appreciate your valuable time. Look forward to talking to you again in the near future. God bless and have a good day.